Alright, welcome back to yet another video. This is episode 13, I think, of the multiplayer inventory component system. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It makes me happy. We're growing. We are pushing 4,000, I think. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's get going. We need to do some quick cleanup. So when I pick this up, drop should not be able to go to minus. We should also not be able to spawn an infinite number of items, and that way make dupes. I think that's what I should do first. We also want to make it so that when we drop items, like if I drop 3, there should be an option to actually make them the same item, but with a stack finished in it. To do that, I think we need to change a lot of logic though. But let's start by doing the cleanup in the item menu. Item drop amount. So I added this variable called number in stack. So you do that too. Number in stack, which will be the maximum. It will basically be the current stack. So what we can do there is, I set it to 5 by default. So if items to drop, after we increment, if items to drop is more greater than number in stack, then we set number in stack to 0. No, items to drop to 1. It can never be 0. So okay, so if items to drop is more than number in stack, then we set it to 0, so it goes around, or we set it to 1. Like this. And we do the reverse on the minus, so if items to drop is less than 0, we set items to drop to number in stack. And instead of dragging from this one, just drag the item to drop in there. And in there. That should make it go around. There we go. And the same way on the other direction. Perfect. So that seems to work. We now need to also set the items to drop so that or the number in stack, so that never actually reaches. This is where we should probably change a lot of logic, I guess. So let's start. This might be a long video. Because right now we have the the current stack in the slot. That makes it so that when we drop the item, we don't have a reference to this because we're not actually dropping a slot. So we should actually just store that in the item. So we should just current stack. So I realized I would change this, so I backed up the project because I might destroy a bunch of things now. So let's just see. So I won't upload this video if I destroy a bunch of stuff and not make it work again, but it might be a long video. So current stack, we added now to the master item. So I mean the class, maybe this is not a because the class defaults probably changes everything. I'm not sure how to do this. I don't really want it in the inventory or in the item detail in the current item, but I guess we do. In this instance, we could actually just do that. So that's an instance. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's just go ahead and do it. So when we drop, let's just go with the pickup first from the beginning and change the logic for this so that it makes sense. Going to your character, let's follow all the logic. We have the pickup. What happens? We get the item to pick up and we add item to inventory. Then we add the class. I'm not exactly sure if we should change the class defaults. Maybe we should add it the amount of times that the actor says. Maybe that's a better way to actually do it. I think so. So from the get current stack, so from the add item to inventory, we're just gonna grab the current stack and we will upload it here, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, but it's gonna go here and then we will get the current stack and add it to inventory. I'm just gonna do this off video and then walk through it. Alright, so first step here is, instead of just adding it, so from the item to pick up, drag out the current stack, which is the this variable that we made. Also make it instance is editable and expose on spawn. Do a for loop that starts at first index, and we loop the body, and for each loop we add item to inventory, which is the same function as before. But instead of continuing here, we move the logic down to complete. So after we completed the pickup, we execute the logic. It's the same as before here, so this is the only change. In the master item, also set the current stack by default to 1. So it can never go below 1. So, and just as a test, I did current stack here 5 on this item. So this is what instance is editable and expose and spawn does. Put here, instance is editable first and foremost. So there's 5 in this stack, pick them up. Now we have 5 in the inventory. We can still drop 1 and get 4. The issue now is that this, or it still works, but that's because we dropped 1. Actually, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's 1 by default. So when we drop it, we also want to set it to whatever stack we say it should be. So, so let me pause again and figure out the next step. Alright, I think I got it. This might actually be simpler than I thought it would be. So we have this number in stack. So just make this one instance is editable and expose on spawn. So now we just need to set this whenever we drop an item. So in the drop slot, let's start with the drop slot. We have this create item widget, create item amount widget function. If we refresh this, we now have the number in stack. So we can drag this here. So that when we do start this function, we can pass through information. And this is a drop slot. And so now we have it here, it's exposed. So now we can grab it from the inventory slot. So we can actually store it in both the actual item and in the inventory slot. Still, the inventory slot will thereby be a holder of the stack while it's not in the world. And we can pass it through the current stack when we create the widget. That should mean it's the maximum number. And then when we drop the item, item drop amount, both here no, when we press the drop button, yeah, it was correct. For each, we're supposed to drop item. So here we want to set the number in stack in the specific stack that we are actually dropping. This is drop 1 item. So this is how we do it if we want to drop 1 item. I want to keep that because we still want that as an option. But in our inventory component, let's add another variable called item stack in world. So this is also going to be instance editable. And expose on spawn. Not sure if we need expose on spawn, but then in our drop amount we can get owning player on get components by class, get stack no, we need to get the inventory component. We need to get item stack in world. If item stack in world is true, we aren't gonna do this for loop, because then we're only gonna spawn one item, but we're gonna set the item to be the stacks that we want. Picks up item when colliding without using a button press to interact. And on this item stacking world, enables multiple instances of the item. Now enables more than one, enables max stacking of items in world and not just in inventory. If disabled, every item dropped will be represented by an item in the world. Hope that makes sense. That's gonna be perfect. And I think we'll set this to enabled by default, because that's gonna be the general behavior here, I guess. And also for testing purposes. Item component, inventory component, inventory slot, inventory drop amount here. So if this is true, item stacking world, if this is true, we're only gonna spawn one item. Server spawn item, but here we will set stack. Okay, now, so this is spawn item. Since we drag the cast the here, we want to enable you to be able to use your own items though. We'll do like this. We'll do a cast. I don't want to do a cast, so, but I think I have to. Yeah, we have to do that here actually. So we will cast to master item. cast to BP master item. We'll set current stack. Drag that through so that whenever we spawn an item, we decide what the current stack should be. So in our drop, in here, we have this current stack. So same here, drag through current stack on the drop item function in the inventory component. Refresh. Plug that in. Here, it's the number in stack. More or equal to 0. Shouldn't it be more or equal than 1? I think so. And item to hand. I feel like this is too much for it to work smoothly. So there's probably gonna be something not working, but let's try. Wait a minute. Let's try to pick up some items. Ooh, yeah, that was 5 in that stack, so that's alright. Oops. Wait, let me pause. Sorry. Yeah, that was 5 in that one, so there's 1 in these. It's gonna be 5 in this one, so that makes sense. If we drop this one, that did not work. Item stack in world, true. Ah, yeah, sorry, this is not 1. This is supposed to be 0 because this is the return. Yeah, it's return. Sorry. So those are supposed to be 0 because this just checks if it's in the inventory or not. So we have 5. We drop 3. And nothing happens. That is because the drop item don't. Did we have this function before? Item drop amount, we need to do it with these here also. Let's make a helper function here as well. Collapse the function, helper get inventory component, make it a pure cast, and that's fine. Take this here. There we go. Just neating things up. I also need to do that here, right? Copy those. So that did not work. Okay, so let's figure out why that does not work. Let me pause and I will figure. Alright, I figured out the next part. So go into your master item, current stack needs to be replicated. Set replication to replicated so that the server always keeps track on how many items there are in the master item. That is because when we drop the item, we spawn it on the server. Spawn item from, not spawn item from class drop, wherever that function is. Server spawn item here. You can see this runs on the server, so we set the current stack on the server, so that's why we need to set it on as a replicated variable. So that's step one. In the item drop, on the drop items, I added a pass-through for current stack. So that means that, I'm not sure if I already did that, but current stack on the spawn item, we set the current stack of the items when we drop. We also need to remove the same amount of items. So after server spawn item, we go to the for loop. We do a for loop for the amount of items dropped. And then for each of the loop, we find in the inventory and we remove that index. So get the inventory, find the item to spawn, drag it out of the for loop, remove the index. Start by 1. That's probably gonna be a bunch of comments on this. It doesn't work. Yeah, start by 1. So now, if I pick up 3, so I picked up 3 with 1 in each, and I drop 2, I have 1 remaining, and they stack in the same. I can now pick up this one that contains 5, and there is 6. Now I can drop this one, that is 1. We need to fix that because that didn't disappear. Because it's set to dropping 0 now. So when I pick this up, it contains 0. So that's why it's 0. So that's expected. We pick up this one containing 2, and we're back to 3 in that stack. So in the inventory slot, on mouse button, not entirely sure where that is. When we drag it's on the drop slot, yeah. So on the drop slot, when we on drop, exactly here we drag. If it's more than 0, we create this. But if it's more than 1, but if it's less than 1, we drop item 1. So it's hard-coded as 0, so it should be 1. We know that this is 1 because it can never be 0. So that's the next thing. Let's see if that works. So that we can still drop 1. We can still drop 1 without any issue. So now we can pick up 5. We can drop 1. We have 4 left. We can pick up this 1. Now we can drop 3. We have 3 left. We pick up, we get back to 6. So that seems to work. Let's also check. Okay, there's one more thing that we're gonna have to check here. So this does not work. So this needs to, so on this menu, when we right click, we also need to do some stuff. So in the inventory slot, when we right click, here we create the widget, item menu, which is this one. So here we need to set the current stack on the drop button, because now we drop 0. So how do we get the stack amount here? We need to get the stack amount to the item menu. Which should be fine, because we can just create one here, right? Number in stack, current stack. Number in stack. Set it to an integer. Make it instances editable and expose on spawn. We're just gonna drag. So if it has a stack, we're gonna get the number. If not, it's gonna be 1. And then we create the amount widget. Here we just drop it. That should work. Drop 1. Still only drop 1 though. Create item to drop amount. What's the difference? Let me pause. I'm gonna compare it to the other. Alright, it wasn't weird at all. It's just that I forgot to set it here. So in the inventory slot, when we actually pass this variable through, we need to get the current stack here and drag it through. Drop 1, works fine. Drop 2, works fine. Drop 4, pick up 4. Drop 4. There we go. A working pick up and drop function. Let's now see what happens if it still works with the master character, go to the inventory component. We have this item stacking world. We remove that one and we should no longer be able to collect stacks. This still has 5, but if I drop it 3 times, it spawns 3 items. There we go. So that's, we can start to see the fact that it gets more customizable. We have replicate and sound, controller not working yet, auto pickup if we want to drag it, stacking world. We got max stacks on the items themselves. So yeah, we are getting somewhere. Let's just see quickly if I can hide this W item menu. I'm not sure if I can, but let's try. Might stop working somewhere. I mean, it looks like it's still working. Let's do like that for now. We might get an issue with that later. Let's go auto pickup again. Just see if that works. Yep. Works with auto pickup. Let's disable auto pickup, and also there's one more thing that I'm worried about. It's a long video already, I know, pushing 40 minutes. Does it replicate? I am going to drop 3 items. It did spawn 3 items. Item stacking world, which is the most exciting one. See if that works. Drop 3 items. We should now pick up 3 items. And we pick up 3 items. So, it's also replicating. Bum, bum, bum. Works like a charm. We're gonna keep adding functionality, but that's really nice to see that work after our fighting for a while. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. There's probably gonna be a bunch of questions on this episode since there's 40 minutes and a bunch of complicated logic. But keep fighting, keep going at it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!